It is the first day, end of the first day, shooting with this Thypoc 28mm with the Leica M11, and I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, this lens is sick. I've just chimped at a few of these photos, and it just looked amazing. I'm pretty sure some of my favorites, if not all of them, might be out of focus. I ended up shooting this lens mostly at 1.5, 2.8 the entire day, even in the bright sun. I didn't really go down to like a 5.6 or 8, which is what I usually kind of shoot street stuff at. But this is it's a real good experience. I'll say this as well. 28mm and 35mm are not the same focal lengths. I see oftentimes people are always looking for a second lens if they're shooting with either 28 or 35, and they don't want to go either direction because they feel like 35 and 28 are too close together. After taking a pretty long break from 28mm, using 35 and then coming back to 28, this feels amazing. This feels outstanding. It's so much different. They're nowhere in the same realm. I feel like I shoot them different. If I'm capturing people, I feel like I capture people differently. And then obviously just being able to utilize f1.4 opposed to being stuck at like f2, that just opens up so much more possibility to shoot in lower light conditions like this. If I do end up liking the results of this, I probably will end up trying like the 50mm, if anything. But for the most part, like, I really like this lens. I like the way it looks. It's a pretty decent size lens for a 28 size lens. So about a month ago, I picked up this new lens, which is the Thypoc Simera 28mm f1.4 lens. And this is the Leica M mount version. As you can see, I have it on my M11 here. And I've been using this lens pretty much daily ever since. I took it to Utah with me, and I've just been shooting with it consistently here in my hometown for essentially the last month. And I'm just gonna say this straight off the bat. Like I said earlier in the video, I absolutely love this lens. There are some drawbacks that I believe this lens does have, but I'm gonna talk about that later. For now, I just want to talk about my experience with this lens. And before I get too deep into it, Thypoc did not send me this lens. I purchased this off of Amazon with my own money, so let's get that out the way. So everything I said earlier about this lens, I still believe to be true. This is the best budget option lens that's out there for anybody trying to get into the Leica M system on a budget. But this is just my experience with the Thypoc Simera 28mm. I know they have the 35 and the recently announced 50mm, which I don't have or have not tried, but Thypoc doing what they're doing and creating these budget options at such high quality for Leica M glasses, really just further paving the way to make this system more accessible for people trying to come into it on a budget. In terms of image quality, when I'm out shooting and then come back home and I'm looking at these photos as I'm editing them, and even on the camera, just the image quality that I'm seeing out of this lens is amazing. The sharpness, the depth of field, the way the bokeh renders, all those fine details that are just rendered out of the image, which is honestly the most important part of, you purchasing a lens. How does, the image look? How do those colors render? I'm pleased to say that I just really enjoy the result that I get out of this. I'm not disappointed at all. It's not overly sharp. It's not overly soft. It has just enough character, something that I really like. And that's something that I don't think I was getting out of the Voigtlander 28mm that I had pretty much like a year ago, I guess at this point. If you haven't seen that video, it's on the channel. But overall, It's a very consistent look. It's a very pleasing look. It's a very satisfying look. And it's just amazing that a company like Thypoc made a lens like this and that it's accessible for people and they don't have to blow out of their budget or spend a credit card to be able to purchase this lens. So let's talk about a few things that I don't like about this lens, and it may just be a me thing, it could be a you thing, but that's the weight and size of this lens. To compare this to my Leica 35 Summicron, which honestly is the same size as my L Merit, as you can see, these are decently different size and they both have lens hoods on them here. But it's a pretty hefty lens. It's a pretty heavy lens for a Leica lens, not just a heavy lens in general. But that's because of the build quality. It's really well built. It's a 1.4 lens, whereas this Leica is a 2.8 lens. And that just adds to the weight, you know, all the glass elements that's inside of this lens, really giving you that high quality. So, you know, there are some trade-offs with getting a quality lens that's going to give you a quality images. Needs to be a bigger lens, and I'm pretty sure the Leica Sumlux, I think I've only held that lens once, is just as big as this lens. Honestly, when I'm out walking and I'm kind of carrying this around for multiple hours on end with this specific Leica, this is the M11, the silver version, which is known to just be a little heavier than the black or aluminum version. I do start to feel that weight around my neck a little bit and just around my wrist or hand when I'm kind of casually walking around. It's not terrible, but it's just noticeable. And for me, when I'm out shooting, I kind of just want to be as comfortable as I can with the camera. So it being noticeable does bother me a little bit, but it's not detrimental. Also, with the size of this lens, when it comes to my smaller camera bags that I have, it doesn't really fit well or comfortably in there. Some bags I can't even close it, or it's just really bulky and it takes up a lot of space. So if I'm carrying, say, this lens and my 50mm and I want to swap between them, this with the lens hood specifically does get a little clunky and cumbersome. So if I do want to carry this lens and a smaller bag, I have to end up taking the lens hood off and carrying the camera around like that. Another obvious and big thing that you see from a lot of other people in a lot of other videos is the design of this lens. That was probably the biggest appeal. I would say if this lens didn't have the design that it did have, I probably wouldn't be as interested in it, but because of its vintage looking design, it grabbed me and it's absolutely beautiful. I love that it has a clickable and declickable aperture. And then I love the focus distance scale on here. It's really nice. For me, in terms of just the focus tab and nub on there, and I know Thypoc is already fixing this. I saw this stuff out there. They're kind of switching this up and removing the infinity lock on here, but it took some time for me to get used to the nub opposed to having like the thumb rest. And honestly, I just wish that was an option at the beginning, but again, I know it's getting fixed and everything, but I did end up, you know, getting used to this and placing it where it needs to be and being able to move it how I need to. So that's not bothering me anymore at all. But overall, just the build quality and the design and the intention with this lens is so beautiful. I love that in the back cap, if you guys can kind of see that there, my camera won't focus, there we go. It says cap true in there, so it's really fun. I just really enjoy the build quality that they gave you with this lens. It's not plasticky at all. It feels really well built, and honestly, just the wear and tear that it's going to get over time, I really appreciate that element of the lens as well. But that's all I really have to share with you guys on this lens so far. If you are looking into picking this up, or you have been interested in picking this up, or the 35mm or the 50mm, I can say that you can trust Thypoc in terms of just what you're going to get with image quality. It's just up to you on picking which lens you want, or pick them both up if you want. I'm probably not going to pick the 35 up as well because I freaking love my 35 Cobb immensely, and then I have my 50mm dual range Summicron that I absolutely love. So I mean, I would like to try their other lenses. I just don't think I have a need for them, being that I already have, you know, the other two focal lengths in my kit. There's an event that I have tomorrow that I'm going to be shooting pretty much all three of these lenses. I'm really just bad at being able to decide at which lens that I want to take with me and use at any given moment, but definitely subscribe and stay tuned for that, as that video is going to come out As soon as I get, I guess, the film for it developed as well, so you'll be able to see how this lens renders on film as well as digital. But I'm really excited to share that event and those experiences that I create at it with you all. Thanks for watching.